Hello everyone, it's Generic Eric here with a IBM keyboard thing. This right here is a 1988 regular standard Model M from IBM. This is the one I use daily, and you can notice there are no super keys here, or Windows keys, whatever you want to call them. And for my workflow, I really need those, so obviously you have to do some button remapping, and it's not always the best thing to do in the operating system at that level. So what I've been using is one of these. It's a Soarer's converter, and it actually has a teeny controller in here that you can program for macros or remappings or anything like that. So whenever you press a key, so in my instance, I remap caps lock here to a super key, because I mean caps lock is fairly useless anyway. So I kind of wanted to show how to do this with, it should work with any of the Soarer's converters. So I've got one here that's got the RJ45 plug. That's for the terminal keyboard, and that's the one I'm going to focus on today because it actually has keys that they should work, but they don't because it's just built completely different. So I'll show you that one here. Okay, so you can see here that this is the Model M terminal edition, I guess is if you want to call it that. And this one actually has the RJ45 plug. So it just goes right into the Soarer's converter there, and then you can plug it into USB. So the other one is actually PS2 to USB. So this one you'll notice, I don't know if you can really see the keys too much, but a lot of them are labeled funny, different, and it was for, different applications than just regular, PC use. It's for probably some kind of a server, maybe even like a dumb terminal. So instead of like on a normal keyboard, you'd have like, a big plus or addition key right here. We have field plus, this arrow key, field minus. These two are not even labeled. Other things like scroll lock is help. Most of the other keys, like your general keys that you're gonna use to type, are the same. Enter is field exit. But there are some problems with this. So some of these keys, like the escape up here, that is mapped to like, I don't know what it was. It was like, I'll remember once I look at the code. But things like this was mapped to escape by default. That's just what it registers as. So those are the types of things that we want to fix by programming our Soarer's converter. So let's hop into that. Okay, welcome to my workstation here, where we're gonna get started on getting the tools and everything that we need to program the teeny controller in the Soarer's converter. So I've made kind of a repository here with kind of my configs that I use. Figured I'd just share those out, and just a little bit on what you need and the commands you're going to need to send the configurations to the converter so it can store it. So the first thing we're going to want to look at is HID listen. And I've got a tab open here. So it's going to just spit out outputs and codes for each key that you press. And that's going to be useful for figuring out which key is which and how that works. So here we can go ahead and I'll go ahead and download it again, even though I made a new folder here for this guide here. So I'll just save HID listen into there. And now there it is. And I think it's already executable. So I could just do did I Okay, so you got to make it executable. So just do a change mod on it. And right now it's listening. So if I press like A, it's going to give me this output, which in of itself, it doesn't look very useful, but it really is. So I have A there. Go ahead and get out of that. And I've had a thing where I've had to replug the keyboard in after I use that tool. Otherwise, it'll mess up my keys, like it'll just type gibberish. So that's something to keep in mind if that's what's happening with you. So we can see here that we've got, when I typed A, I got this +04 here. That means that I pressed it, and then when I let go, it -04. But 04 is what we're looking for. And where that actually makes sense is if we go to this geekhack link. I believe I have that in there. Okay, I don't, but I will add it. This geekhack page for the Soarer's converter, which there's all sorts of other neat information in there too, but they have all these downloads down here, and you could just download pretty much anything with documentation in it that's not an update. So 1.12 is fine. I'll go ahead and download that into the guide here. And then, okay, so I've got that there, Soarer converter. So we're gonna unzip that. And now we have docs folder there. So we'll see what's in there. So they put all this documentation in HTML format, so you just load it with a browser. So if you do like Firefox index.html, or you could double click it in your Explorer or whatever, that's fine. They give you all the documentation, which is really nice, just and you can click through it. The main thing that I'm concerned with is the code section here, because remember 04? 04, it tells us that that's supposed to be A. So if we're going to remap something, which here, let's look at, here is what I came up with for the terminal keyboard. So we just add a remap block there, and then you end it with end block, and in the middle is where you remap your key. So what I mentioned earlier was I remap caps lock, and we call the super key L or R GUI. Depending on which one you want to use, it shouldn't matter. But also the other keys here, so like when I press the print screen button on the terminal Model M, it actually comes up as F23. So if we look at the documentation here, F23, when I press the print screen key, it comes up with a +72, and I don't want that. So if you want, you can look at, so there's print screen, and we're just going to remap it to print screen, and that would register at 46. So I'm just taking F23 space print screen. It's really as simple as that. And there's some other ones. I went through the whole thing and figured out what keys are what, and I kind of put this together, and it's very opinionated, like I put here. So just I remap some of the keypad keys to like undo. I fixed the pad minus to pad plus because that's what it read out. So it's more like an actual regular keyboard we're all familiar with. And then there's other keys which are weird, like language select key. So that was actually where pause is supposed to be. There's different little like media buttons that you can use. So I took what they thought was scroll lock, which is actually one of the top right keys, and just I was playing around with it and turned it into, it launches the calculator. and then you can do like volume up, volume down. That's kind of just, your preference, up to you what you want to do with that. So anyway, I don't think I'm really missing anything on that. There's other things in their documentation that are probably worth looking at, like the config. We're just going to be remapping keys with this guide, but there's other things you can do. You can do full-on macros if you want to. There's different layers that you can mess around with. So like if you want to have different configurations of all your keys, you can set it up to where you press, one key and it's, your main configuration that you use, and then you press another key, it'll switch to a completely different configuration for you. So that might be something to look at, like if you use it for like a, some kind of editing program. It could be used for all sorts of different things, and it's really nice because it's at the hardware level, and you don't have to, once it's there, it's there. And you can also, override it and stuff and update it, however you want to do that. But this is a great source of documentation for all of that. There's just a lot here, and they recommend using in here, so you can use the Soarer converter, and they actually have tools in there, and they give you a overview of the tools. But I use this SC tools instead. It's kind of got everything built in that you need, and it just installs it to where you can run it from any directory, which is kind of nice. So let's go over with installing the SC tools. So right now, I noticed that they updated Hit API because it's being actively developed. So when you do a git clone on this, it's not gonna download the Hit folder here, which you actually need. So what you're gonna have to do is, let's go to our, okay, there we are. So let's do a git clone, and we'll pull SC tools in there. Now we have them. Good. So if we go to SC tools, so it's got the hidappy directory there, but there's nothing in it, and we really need it. So let's go into theirs, and we're just gonna download it as a zip guide, and we'll just put it in the SC tools dealio there. Okay, so now we got that .zip file, and we'll just unzip it. Okay, it would have been easier if I just renamed it. All right, so if we look in there, all that stuff is just everything we need. We can just move all of that into, we'll do a slash everything, and we'll move that into hidappy, and then, okay, now it's all in there. And if I remember right, so we're in the SC tools, we've got hidappy in there. That's good. All right, so if we do a // autogen.sh, it's going to go and get it ready for make and make install. Perfect. All right, so we'll do a make, sudo make install. Okay, beautiful. So it automatically adds our udev rules and everything, so we should be good. So now we have access to the SC tool binary and gas, which we will also be using. So SE tool kind of combines some of the other tools to where you can read and write to the source converter, and the SCAS binary there actually converts our config into a binary config that the chip can read. So what we do is, so I've got these two configs here. So this is the only thing I use on my everyday keyboard. All I want is that super key there. Everything else is just fine. Maybe in the future I'll remap stuff, but that's all I have for that one. But we're looking at the terminal one. So well, actually, might be easier just to clone it. So let's go to our root, and we're gonna get clone my repository there. All right, so we got our terminal SC there and our PS2 SC. We're just gonna concentrate on the terminal SC, and what we're gonna do is type scas space terminal.sc, and we're gonna convert that to SEB for SE binary. All right, and if we look back in there, now we have that SCB file in there. And if remembered, so SE tool, we looked at the help for that. So we can do SE tool write, and actually we're gonna have to use sudo on that. And you want to use the SCB. So sudo SE tool write terminal.scb. And there we have it. It wrote it to the device, and it's actually at this point just working. So if I hit my caps lock key, I get my overview there, which it was already programmed, so obviously it worked. But if you do have trouble, you might have to like unplug it or whatever, plug it back in, and it should be just fine. I think that's basically all I wanted to go over. Besides, well, actually getting the converter, I guess that's important. I put a link in here, so it's actually an eBay link to this person's store, or a Halcon, which I'm assuming he's the one that manufactures or has these manufactured. And you can get them for, so there's the terminal one there, the RJ45. They got PS2, which I have one of those too. They got XT and AT. So if you have a model that uses that, I think it was the Model F. I don't know if there was any Model M's that used AT. Maybe there was. But there's all sorts of different adapters. They've got the actually, so mine actually is SDL, but I didn't buy that one. It was more expensive because I just had the PS2, and it's fine just to use that. So, and I don't know if this one actually has the, you have to look because this doesn't say that it has the ability for remapping and all that. Okay, yeah, so this one's got remapping and everything too, and macros. So it's got the same chip in there, so that's good. All right, so really I think that is all I wanted to go over. We went through all the steps and we got our converter programmed, so no matter what computer I use this on, all my keys are going to be the way I want them, and that's kind of the goal. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'm going to upload this to my main channel, but I'm also going to be uploading this to the RetroDev. So like I haven't uploaded a video to my main channel in, at least it's been like a couple of years. But I was working on some projects and just not all of them worked out, and I got, busy with life and stuff. But anyway, thank you for watching and have a great one.